Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another SLG Meetup. Your host Alvaro Nunez to bring you another interesting and successful guest. Today we're going to have with us the CEO of ARKHAUS Club. His name is Payrovi, and for those of you that are not familiar with ARKHAUS, I gotta say that I live here in Miami and I've seen all sorts of crazy things when it comes to luxury living, but this one in particular takes the top. Is the first luxury private members club on the water. So if you've come to Miami Beach, you've seen probably those floating houses, and this is pretty much putting them all together and creating something that is beyond luxury experience. So he's gonna bring us all the stories behind this vision and how they're redefining luxury living.
Aha, there he is. What's going on,
Hey,
Sam?
Alvaro.
How you doing,
How
my
are you,
friend?
man? It's good to see you. I'm good. I'm good.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah.
Amazing that we're doing this. Where are
Yes.
you at the moment? Tell me that you are in the art house.
I am actually. I'm actually on the first of our many of these vessels that are arriving. We actually have 6 of these on order. And we
Wow.
do a variety of things with them, right? So 4 of them become the actual ARKHAUS Social Club. And we have 2 other vessels that are intended for our members and for non-members as well to activate on private events, corporate events, etc. And so I'm sitting on the very first one right now. Super exciting. And then the second one arrives next week, and we start to receive the other ones in a few months. And then the whole club is up and running all together.
This is so exciting and congratulations. I mean, I gotta say that I've seen the progress on how you guys have been evolving over the years. For those that come to South Beach, it's very iconic to go through the MacArthur Bridge and see that floating house or this
Yeah.
vessel that everybody was like, oh my God, how come there is a house floating around Miami Beach water? Like, how is this possible, right? So it captivated a lot of the attention on the early stages. And then you guys reshaped it into turning it into a members club. So tell me a little bit about the vision behind this concept.
Yeah, so ARKHAUS, prior to ARKHAUS, my co-founder and wife, Natalie, we were actually running a business together called Custom House. It was a venue in New York City, co-working by day, private events by night. After we launched that, we came down and we opened up a second location in Miami at the Faina Hotel. So we took over the rooftop of the Faina Bazaar building and turned it into a pop-up social club. So private events, like a 5-month social club, which ended up going 6 months. And that was super cool, but we knew it was short term, and we started to look for what our permanent home base was going to be. And this is kind of where the story takes a funny turn. I've had a very long love of electric boats, and I would tell Natalie, I think instead of building a club on land, we should actually build one on the water. She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, there's these like new type of like yachts that are solar and electric and they don't use fuel, very forward thinking.
Mm.
She was like, this is crazy. Just get this out of your mind. And as we continued to think about it, I kind of moved off that idea. And then one day I showed her the boat that you're talking about, the one that is docked off of Star Island on the MacArthur Causeway. And when she saw that, she said, what is that? I said, it's a solar electric boat, but you've already told me you don't like these. And she looked at it, she was like, oh no, that's a game changer. That is not a yacht. That's something
Mm-hmm.
else. And we started to see, hey, how can we make this work? So we reached out to the manufacturer. We tried to actually buy that boat. And unfortunately, on 2 fronts. One, it had already been sold to the
Mm-hmm.
person who lives there. And then the second piece is it didn't have the commercial capacity. So then we went back and worked with the manufacturer to design and engineer these vessels that are a little bit smaller. And each one of these by itself would not be sufficient for a club. But then we said, what happens when you put 4 of these together? And when we saw what
Mm-hmm.
that looks like on paper, it was like our minds blew and we're like, oh God, we got to go do this, right? It's kind of out of like a sci-fi movie. It's like some floating thing in the middle of the water, but it's 4 yachts.
Literally. But you know what, Sam? It's very exciting to see how it's evolving and how the city is becoming more innovative, right? Like I see just recently they were doing a little paddle match floating on the water, and then we also have these floating vessels where people can land the helicopters, and now you guys are literally putting together a whole community on water by putting this member club on. So my question to you is, how do you see this redefining the way that people look at luxury living?
Well, I'll give that to you from two angles, right? Because these vessels, the way they are designed by the manufacturer, are actually designed for a hybrid residential slash boating use, right? These are vessels.
Yeah.
They're not homes. They're classified
Correct.
as vessels.
Correct.
But you can live on a boat, and a lot of people do, right? And so the ideal use for this is basically what you see happening on Star Island. That guy is building his property. He's going to live in his house. His boat is going to be sitting out front. He can go hang out on it. He can go barbecue on it, or he can take it out and enjoy it for the day, right? So it's a very different use case. And anytime you have something new, you know, people kind of balk at it. They look at it, they say, no, 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 not here, not here. People get scared of things that are new. So I think there was a good sector of people who really looked at this and said, we see how this is the new wave, right? Obviously, we have a lot of water issues here in Miami with, you know, rising sea levels and what's happening with the flooding, et cetera. And people see, you know, in 10, 20, 30, 50 years, maybe having more access to the water, especially for those that live waterfront or are near a marina and can keep it as a marina. It's very different, right? Now you have some flexibility to go out on your boat and actually stay on it comfortably for 2, 3 days, 5 days, however long you want. That's really the first side. Is I think people are going to gravitate more and more towards water and enjoying the water. There's a very psychological benefit to being on water. But the second piece is, you know, I mentioned that I think a lot of people are every now and then afraid of the new. And in Miami, you live here, you probably know this. There's a lot of crazy things happening out on the water, right? I mean, crazy parties, crazy jet skiers, all kinds of stuff. And so Miami residents and the government are very careful and trying to be more and more careful of what happens. And so when they see a new concept come, they go, oh my God, what is this thing going to be, right? And so, you know, we spent some time and we really turned the tide. And I think a lot of the local politicians are actually very excited for the project. You know, they look around and they say, we're trying to stop the crazy on what's happening on Biscayne Bay. But then here you guys are building a very respectable social club with solar electric boats that have holding tanks and don't dump anything into the water, and you don't use anchors which rake the seabed. So people are really coming around to it. Not only the vessels themselves, but the club as well. And that's really been it's really exciting to see that happening.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the social club, right? Because everybody now is, oh my God, this is exciting. This is innovative. I want to be part of it. So how can somebody apply to it? What kind of experiences do you offer? Tell us a little bit about the concept behind the membership.
Sure. The membership, you know, well, first, as the club itself, we're obviously very careful on what we do out on the water. We're a maritime operation. We're extremely conservative and controlled within our operations and how we do things. Safety is, of course, piece number one, right? No questions asked there. But, you know, the club, we are building, you know, an innovative and active and kind of like a boundaryless community. We don't say we're focused on the arts or tech or finance. We're industry agnostic, right? And so ARKHAUS is a private social club for the world's disruptors. That's anybody who is working to change and improve their industry, their community, anything around them, right? So if I had to liken it, I mean, I think it's people who are less 9 to 5 and a little bit more go, go, go. Let's find cool things to do. Let's improve this. Let's improve that. I would actually say you're an ideal member, right? I've seen kind of what you do, right? You're an endurance athlete. You know, you fly helicopters. I mean, you have like that zest for life, right? And like, that's our member. It's people who do things. And the reason we're not industry agnostic is because you're going to stand to benefit to learn more from somebody who has that same zest for life, but in a different industry, How's he doing it? How's he applying it? What are they doing? What is she doing to build an industry or her company?
Right.
And in terms of applying, you just literally go onto the website, you click apply. It's a very short questionnaire, a $500 deposit, but that just starts the process.
Right.
From there, what we do is we really get to know our members probably better than any other community I know of, right? We have events all throughout the year, very social, very casual events. We're just getting to know people, right? So our whole team is there. Other members are there, other applicants are there, other non-applicants are there. And it's kind of just everybody getting to know, okay, this is the community that is building here, right?
Right.
We did a few events over the summer. People got really excited. But through those events, we really learn who's a great fit and who's really going to propel this community forward, right? Because it's not going to be me, Natalie, and it's not going to be the rest of our team and people pushing it forward, right? That has to come from the community itself. And it really starts with who you seed that community with. Mm-hmm. And that's the most important part. So we're really curating that.
I love that. And when is it officially launching? When are you envisioning all this to take place?
Yeah. Okay, so I mentioned that the club is built on 4 boats, right? Mm-hmm. We actually have 6 on order, I mentioned. These first 2, the one I'm sitting on right now, and the next one we get, are technically not the club. However, we do activate on them in a variety of ways. So we can charter them out to a private corporate event. We can host activations and events for our community, just like the community days I was telling you about. But these 2 are classified a little bit differently than the final 4 that will arrive, right? And when the first of those 4 commercial vessels arrives, and that's going to be in Q2, the club is technically open. The club is actually 360 members in Miami, at least at its opening. Mm-hmm. And when vessel number 1 gets here, the first commercial vessel, we open up to our first 90 members. When the second vessel comes, we go to 180, third vessel 270, fourth vessel 360, right? So the people who have applied and have been accepted as members, they're going to be the first ones to get access right away.
Got it.
Those vessels each come about 1 month later. So, let's say May, June, July, August, or it might be May, June, August, September, but people are going to get access in May and June. And to the extent we can open up access, we will, right? So if we see we have the ability to open up to 180 members on the first vessel, sure, we will. Why not, right? Mm-hmm. Get everybody in there, get the juices flowing, and turn it on.
So is the idea to make it bigger, or you're going to keep it 4 vessels and then do another 4 vessels, or expand into other areas? What's the vision?
Yeah, you nailed it. So Miami will be a 4-vessel club. And then we have a goal that within 5 years of Miami opening, we open up 7 more clubs. Or 6 more clubs for a total of 7, I should say. That is New York City is next, San Francisco and Newport Beach. And then internationally, we're looking at Cannes, Istanbul, and Dubai. Ooh. And we might do Istanbul or Bodrum. We're not really sure. We're looking at those 2. That's the first 5 years. And then the subsequent 5 years, we think we can open up another 20 to 25 and be close to that 30 club range. And so you look at this and you go, this is crazy. How do you think you're going to open up 30 clubs in 10 years? Well, first of all, 10 years is a very long time. But these clubs are actually easier to open than a land-based club. We don't actually go find real estate, negotiate it, buy it, purchase it, design it, build it out, et cetera, et cetera. That's a 2-year process, mm-hmm. right? We can actually build these vessels in a shipyard before we even know where the vessel is going. Wow. And then once Miami's up and running, we pre-sell memberships in all the cities we have interest in. And as we see each city getting to a certain threshold, maybe 50%, so let's say 180 members, boom, we'll send 2 vessels out there, get the food and beverage set up, permitting set up, marina partnership set up, and then turn it on. And then when we get to 360, we send the next 2 vessels. Mm-hmm. So we can whip these out pretty quickly once the ball is rolling. And the great thing is all our members get access to all clubs globally.
Gotcha. Now, as a member, what's the cost? You said 500 initial deposit, but what's the actual yearly cost, or is there a monthly cost? How does it work?
Yeah, so the annual premium or the annual rate is 10,000. We have no initiation fee, which I think is something I really, really love. A lot of clubs will build their club off the backs of the initiation fees they collect in pre-sales. We're not doing that. So we just take a 500 deposit, and then 10,000 is the annual price. Now, if you apply prior to the club opening, meaning prior to Q2 of this year, you come in as a pre-sale member, and the pre-sale rate right now is 7,500. The second great thing
is that locked up for always or just for 1 year?
Exactly. You get grandfathered into that 7,500 rate. So you are effectively 25% off for as long as you're a member, right? And that's a pretty substantial benefit.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is in the last 2, 3, 4 months, as we're receiving the commercial vessels, and now that we have these two, we're starting to see membership activity build up quite a bit. And so all these these applications are rolling in at a much, much faster clip than they were a year ago before we had a vessel, right? And so everybody that comes in now gets benefit to that pre-sale membership, and you become an anchor member, which is what we call our founding membership.
Gotcha.
Right. And then having an anchor membership will actually have its benefits, not only in terms of the pre-sale rate, but you'll have some other benefits as you travel to other clubs, preferred rates, et cetera. And we'll get into that more once we open up club number 2.
I love that. I mean, it's a very exciting concept. And in fact, I was this morning flying the helicopter right above you, and I took a video.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was flying this morning.
Nice.
And I always love to see things from the air and see how expansive Miami is, how much water there is, and to be able to have something like the ARKHAUS Club in the water is such a unique add-on to the city. Now, my question will be, like, are you going to be providing boat transportation to the club, or also you're going to be implementing while we have those vessels to land the helicopter, like what people swimming there, whatever? What's the main way of transportation?
So this is actually a really interesting piece, because this question has spawned a second business for us. So, our vessels, the club vessels, these are solar electric. And here, I'm going to turn on my camera, and I'm just going to show you just a quick bit, right? So I'm just sitting on one boat. That's the helm station. These are kind of the loungers. This is the hatch that goes down to the lower level, and you see another. But this above me is a 12 kilowatt solar roof. And so this powers everything we do. If I take you over to the control station real quick, and I know I'm coming off what you asked about, but look at this. We're running fully on solar right now.
Oh,
right?
Wow. That's so
And so
cool.
our solar charges up to 98%, and then we go out and we do what we want for the day, and then we come back. So, from an innovation perspective, this is very different. But then we started to think about, how are we getting people out to the club and back and forth? And when you think about fuel boats, they are notoriously horrible for running large miles, right? And when you do the math, in a given day, our tenders need to run about 200 miles per day, or 2 boats times 100 miles.
Right.
Regular fuel boats, your fuel costs will kill you, maintenance will kill you, time out of service for that maintenance kill you, right? You fly helicopters, you know how this goes, right?
Yeah.
So we really started to look at, are there electric boats we can use to transport people? Because electric engines can run 100,000 hours without a single maintenance, which is mind-blowing, right?
It's crazy, yes, absolutely.
So whereas a outboard motor runs 10,000 miles, and you have to service it every 100 hours, which is crazy. So we started to look at, what does it take to build an electric boat that is the correct transporter for our members back and forth?
I like that.
And as we started we realized nobody else is doing this. So we said, okay, we'll have to go design and engineer our own boat. And we called this project codename Elixir at the time. It's kind of quiet. We weren't telling people what we were doing. People knew it was related to electric boats somehow. And then as I was working on that project, we started to see that the European Union and the state of California have mandated that all commercial harbor traffic becomes zero emission at certain dates. California's mandate is January 2025 right now. And they now are going to give waivers and push it back. And so we realized, oh my God, we're building a boat for ourselves, which is the only boat that can support the world's transition to marine electrification as it relates to passenger transport, at least in the US. There's companies in Europe doing this. They can't bring those boats here because of some Coast Guard rules called the Jones Act. So we said, we're going to spin this thing out and build a transportation system. And so now this thing that started as part of just ARKHAUS's transport is now in the process of becoming a zero emission waterborne transportation system called 𝐄𝐲, working with the city of Miami and Miami-Dade County, city of Miami Beach, North Bay Village. And in the next year or 2 years, you're going to see a bunch of zero emission, all electric boats, gorgeous boats, slow cruising and transporting people all around. Because these cities, you look at that road behind me.
Oh my God,
right?
Yes. You need this.
That road behind me, you need it, right?
It is
You can't build, you can't build 5, 10 bridges and tunnels to get more and more people across, right? And the city's growing, but the infrastructure isn't, right? So the only way to do it is waterborne transportation. Yeah. And the reason it hasn't happened is fuel-based vessels are so bad for running large-based transportation. Yeah. Fuel is expensive, boats are inefficient, it's a bad combo. But electric vessels solves this. And we just said, God, we're going to go build that. So we're actually running 2 projects at the same time. So
tell me, let me ask you this, Sam, because I love this. I mean, this is exciting. I see how you are passionate about what you're doing and you're making it happen. But for any entrepreneur out there, right, that is trying to build their dreams, there's always going to be a lot of pushback, especially with what you're doing, being the first, being innovative in this type of concept. How are you able to overcome all that resistance from a government standpoint, from all the different laws and regulations?
Well, I think when you decide to take on a project, right, the first thing is you got to do a little bit of diligence Upwork and figure out, can this be done? Can the main nuts and bolts get done? And there's no way at the very beginning of a project you can foresee everything that's going to happen, right? You're not going to see, well, what if this vessel behaves a little bit differently than this? What if this? What if we have this other logistical challenge? What if we have this permitting issue? You can't, right? When you start, you got to knock out the big things, right? Does this work within the legal framework? Can we get the financing? Will people buy it? Can we pre-sell it? And we went through that process. And then as we got past those and said, all right, I think we're going to take a crack at this thing, we started moving forward. Then we dig into the mid-level things, the granular things. How is our transport going to work? How is food and beverage going to work? And now that we're receiving vessels, we're at those very granular items, right? How do you line up 2 vessels so that they're close enough to each other where people can seamlessly walk from one to the other, right? You can't foresee those things 2-3 years out at the very beginning of your entrepreneurship journey. And so, a lot of people ask, I've been an entrepreneur for about 10 years. A lot of people ask me for advice. And the first thing I tell them is I have no advice to give. And the reason is, as an entrepreneur, a lot of people like to say they made $100 million, they exited a company, and all of a sudden they have something to pontificate about, right? They have this glorious wisdom and they talk as if they're like the magnates of industry. We're all just people, right? We're entrepreneurs, right? We're just all trying to build a business and build something. But there's 2 things that I tell people. The first is, well, I'll make it 3. One is, I hear a lot of people saying, I want to pick up a project and I want to be a founder. Do not do that, right? Unless you have a problem that is squarely in your sights and you believe that you are the right person to build it, it won't work. And it won't work because the challenges you will face will be 50x what you think they will be. And you have to be able to weather those tough times, right? So unless you know what it is you're trying to solve, don't just go try to find a problem to solve. That's the first thing I say. The second thing I say is, you're going to have a lot of ups and downs, and you have to recognize that these ups and downs balance themselves out, right? You get a good contract, you can't go blow it on a trip to Saint-Tropez. You got to keep grinding, because next week you're going to have something very hard that's going to hit you. Your financing is going to fall out. Now you got to focus on that, right? So yes, celebrate the good, deal with the bad, but you can't let your life be like this as an entrepreneur. It's got to be like this, right? And that's how you got to build it, right? So those are the two big pieces I really tell people. But you know, you got to be heads down.
You
and
said
deal with it.
three. You said
Oh,
three. I'm waiting
that's
for
right.
the third one.
Well, why am I blanking on what the third one was? I said the balancing act. Don't take on a project. I'm sorry, I don't know what the third one was.
The third one,
I got so excited about those two.
be creative, be more creative. Let your brain run wild like you're doing. Because honestly, it takes a lot of courage to dream big and to be creative. I think
Yeah.
that when I see what you're building, I get excited. I get excited to how creative can I also be with what I'm doing, right? Because it is a sort of an inspiration to see someone that is disrupting something and making it happen. And a lot of people talk, but they don't walk the talk, and you're doing it, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that happening. So look, we're always here to support. I know that there is a lot of incredible things happening in Miami. So I know that it's a diverse and very uplifted city that is pro creativity, pro innovation. So I'm sure that we'll see this up and running very soon. And yeah, I mean, I always ask this question to all of our guests, and I'm curious to know your answer. What does luxury mean to you?
Yeah. So the first thing is I'd say I've evolved over time in what that means to me, right? Back in the day, I came from 15 years of Wall Street, right? When you're on Wall Street, you are kind of told what luxury is, right? The environment around you, having a big house, nice car, many of those things. Over time, for me, it's really about experiences and being around, the people that I think are very valuable to me, which is part of what I love in the community we're building. It's funny, Natalie and I talk about what do we want to do? Like, we're successful, we hit it big. Like, what is it we're actually doing? Are we flying around on jets, or are we just hanging out on a couch, right? And for us, we just want to kind of travel and experience things. And literally, I think my favorite thing when I think of what I want to do as a successful founder in the future when I exit one day is I just want to be able to go to really good dinners, not expensive, but just nice dinners, and enjoy my time with my wife and my family and my kids and all of that. And then the other time I want to kind of just hang out and be able to cook at home and have the flexibility to just enjoy my environment, whether it's at home or out, enjoy the people around me. And that's it, right? So for me, it's not attached to dollars. It's really attached to the experiences and the people around me. I would have maybe said that 20 years ago. I don't know if I would have believed it as much as I do now.
Right. Well, you gotta go through the journey to really love
Exactly.
that feeling. But I love that.
Exactly.
That's well said, my friend. And look, it's been a pleasure. I know you have a great office right there, so
Yeah.
I think we're very lucky. We're very lucky where we live, and definitely you have done it well. So I wish you all the best. I know that we're gonna be doing things together. I'm excited to see how these keep on evolving, and also keep expanding your mind and go up in the air. I can take you up on the helicopter, and then you'll take me on the ARKHAUS.
There we go. Let's do it. I'm down for both of those.
Amazing.
All right, Albert.
Well, I
Pleasure,
appreciate
man.
it.
Hey, listen. Thank you for.
Yeah,
sure.
A question more for the audience and for those that will be tuning in on this video later on. For those that are interested to become members, what's the best place where they can go?
Yeah, you just want to go to the website. It's just arkhaus.club. There's nothing else on it. Just ARKHAUS.CLUB. Go to the apply page, poke around, learn about the membership, our plans, our timing, and then go click on the apply page. The application process takes 10 minutes max. $500 deposit, and you do it. And if you got any questions, just message the ARKHAUS Club Instagram. We respond very quickly, and that's it. We're very easy to reach. We're very casual. This club is not a velvet rope club. the fact that it's 360 members and sitting out in the middle of the water is going to draw all the velvet rope we need. Right?
Exactly.
So bring your A game, bring your best face, bring your smile, bring your friendliness. That's the stuff we care about. And hit us up. Let us know what you need. We're happy to answer questions.
Sweet. So you heard it from the man himself, Sam. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I look forward to continuing this conversation, whether it's in the ARKHAUS or up in the air.
Let's do it. Thanks, Alvaro.
All right.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.